Okay, well, let's get started. We have a gorgeous live today, undoubtedly for those who are well rested and revived, because I had a post today about how sometimes our psyche needs a break, sometimes our psyche needs to get no information, get grounded, I don't know, cooking pies, doing gardening, and so on. But if your condition is the opposite, or if you have recovered, as for example I did, because for me now half a day is enough to get myself together completely, at least today it is like this. So if you are ready to receive information, then I sincerely invite you. I want to remind you a few important things. I will not save this live here, but we will upload it on YouTube in a couple of days. So if you don't find the live here, then watch it on YouTube. And if you watch this live on YouTube, make sure to like it, make sure to leave a comment, your feedback, or just a thank you, and that's how you pay for the free content that is coming. I will also give the technique today. It is minimal but very interesting. If you have not yet watched the first live on money, there was a technique there was terrific material, terrific theoretical part. Make sure to go to YouTube. It is called How I Worked Through My Money Blocks. Well, also the last very important news, already tomorrow at 6 p.m., my course of Master of Personality Diagnostics starts. Therefore, if you're on the course tomorrow, I congratulate you and I see on stories how much you're waiting for it. I'm also waiting very, very much. Already tomorrow we start, and I have already prepared the new presentation for you. In general, the course will be different from the first stream, not in the sense that it will be worse, no, but it will contain considerably more information, a lot more. And today I finished the presentations for the second stream. I finally finished the presentations for the second part of the Master of Personality Diagnostics course. What I want to say is that the program that we declared and the time that we declared, we will undoubtedly go beyond it. The timing of the course is about a month and a half, but we will stretch to 2 months and a half, 100%. Because there's a lot of material and there will be a lot of homework, because now the girls who are in the first stream who start working and give their feedback, I'm already following it and I see what is missing. And I added that to the second stream as well. There will be no third stream, my dears. Unfortunately, I don't have the resources or time for this, and I will probably give all my resources regarding the transfer of knowledge as a specialist in the second stream. Therefore, if you want to become a Master of Personality Diagnostics one day, it's not a problem. You can purchase the first stream or the second, or both streams or any streams in the recording. Your homework will certainly be checked by my curators, not by me. Now, in this stream, the homework will be checked by me personally. And some consciously choose the course in the recording to be checked by curators because I check them very rigidly. Just for you to understand that in the first stream, out of those two who I said the analysis was okay, no need to redo, there was just one person in the first stream, and in the second stream there were 3 persons like that. And a lot of people were doing their card 4, 5, or 6 times because I didn't accept it. Because there was really no full picture. So maybe to pass in some kind of more relaxed, light version, you will do it in the recording. It is also possible. This is normal. The girls from the first stream will keep me honest. It was hard as hell. In the second stream, it will not be easier. I love jumping on the bandwagon as far as Zina's products are concerned. Not only you love it, I think 70% of our audience loves to do it. Because everyone always signs up on the last day, no matter how many times we say that your psyche should be prepared, that if you sign up earlier, then it will be a more mindful process, it's pointless. Moreover, I stopped talking about this topic because I'm exactly the same and always jump on the bandwagon most of the time. But if it's not the speakers of some world level, I understand that there is simply no way to jump on the bandwagon because the tickets are simply sold out 6 months in advance, a year in advance, but I'm not the speaker of this level yet. With me, you can jump on the bandwagon. So hop on. We start tomorrow. Okay, well, this is the news. Please write the topic of this live. The topic of the live is envy and arrogance. Envy and arrogance block the money flow. Or how envy and arrogance block the money flow. And I was preparing, I was earning. This also happens. How arrogance and envy block the money flow. A very important topic, also quite vital. I will give many examples from my life and my clients' lives. Right, I signed up on the first day. Listen, you are brilliant. Thank you. To pin. Yes, envy and arrogance really block the money flow and money opportunities. I will now open this topic. And it is important, based on... So I will close the comments. In general, what I want to share with you, based on the last comments, I very often notice that you understand about some feelings inside yourself. For example, envy and arrogance are noticed by many people inside themselves. But many do not feel how this feeling blocks, how this feeling closes, how this feeling acts in your body. So I remind you once again, if the last live in which I talk in great detail about how our feelings, our mindsets make our reality, if you don't fully feel it yet, the last live is on YouTube, how I worked through my money blocks. It is for you, please go and watch it. In general, I recommend watching this live at least 5 times, at most to go deeper and to use the techniques that are there, at most 10 times. Firstly, for the sake of technique, and secondly, so that all these feelings that you will have, that you could feel them as vividly as possible. Today, I will talk about rather complicated, thick, and mind-blocking and body-blocking feelings and states such as envy and arrogance. The money flow within us is undoubtedly, I think you understand that this is energy, and in the language of metaphysics, we're all made of energy and so on. But in fact, a man free of envy and arrogance, he sees opportunities very easily, he builds connections and contacts very easily, and he very easily goes and uses those opportunities which the world gives. But you have probably heard more than once, if you're a practitioner and you have money and earnings in your life, you have probably felt that money is more about relationships. And there was a very striking case. Please remind me for me not to lie, because I have big problems with numbers, with dates and timing. I think it was around 2.5 months when we had the money course. Around 2.5 months, yes, we had the money course. And when I asked about the results of the money course, many of you wrote and said, Zina, it was the course on money, but my relationships have improved greatly. I started to meet men, or I started to build relationships, or I made a proposal, and so on and so forth. And to those people who took the money course in July, yes, thank you very much, this course was in July, it was not clear why we work with money issues, money blocks, and it is the relationships that are improving. In fact, the ability to make money and earn money is very much related to the way we generally build relationships with people, how we build contacts and connections, because money and financial opportunities are about our social connections. Recently, I had Q&A on stories, and one of the girls asked such an interesting question. I did not post the answer, but I said it to myself. Now I will say it aloud. She asked a very interesting question. Zina, why do many people brag about their connections and contacts? Someone brags about the amount of money, and someone brags about connections and contacts. What is happening? Why are people so boastful? In fact, there is an explanation, and very logical one. Because we are not only what we have in our wallet, not only what we have in our house and soul, a large part of our personality is also what contacts and connections we have built. And it is for a reason that there is this amazing phrase that your average income is the income of your five closest friends. And this is really true. And these processes are very interrelated. Your environment, what people you surround yourself with, how you build contacts, in exactly the same way you build contacts with money. Not with money on the physical plane, with a banknote, right? With a 5,000 banknote or another one. No, but specifically with the money energy. Because if you did the last exercise that I gave on the live, how I worked through my money blocks, you notice that money energy is quite powerful energy. And the more you earn, and I have examples of my clients, and they told me, Zina, we were striving for it, going for it. In the end, the more we earn, the more anxious and the more afraid we are. And it's true because when this money flow, these money opportunities, this energy starts to be present in your life, especially if you're not ready for them, and it happens very rapidly, it's a big, big stress for your psyche. I will give you a few examples of how this stress may affect you. A client of mine who has been with me for a long time in coaching recently wrote me a message. Zina, why is that when I buy a car which I have been saving for and which is so significant in terms of money, an apartment, some hell starts to break loose in my life? It's someone trying to deceive me, then someone tries to steal from me, then some kind of fuss begins, some kind of fear, some kind of anxiety. As soon as I cross this threshold, some kind of situation happens that makes me move into this state of fear, anxiety, and so on. What is this about? We did a very interesting exercise with her, and we will do it with you too, because I think for many of you, just as on the first life, in the exercise of the first life, it will become clear how close you are to money and how much of this money energy you digest in general. And for many of you, it will be a revelation that you're very much afraid of this energy, that you avoid it a lot, and that you are not at all ready to earn. These things are important to understand because many of you take money courses with me or not with me, it doesn't matter. Many of my listeners work on their financial well being, and therefore it would be very cool for you to understand your real attitude towards money. Because you can work a lot on yourself, go through a lot of marathons, go through a lot of individual consultations, and not understand that inside there is an attitude that I'm insanely afraid of money. I don't want to earn a lot. And the main thing for me is all this work is just a pretense. In fact, there is a wild fear, a wild unwillingness to work and earn, because to earn you should take quite intensive actions. To earn good money, you have to work constantly. You have to work a lot. And the problem of most people is that they want to earn a lot, but not to work. A lot of people, even my clients, have the illusion that as soon as they undergo therapy, work through this issue, they will just lie there and do nothing, and their husbands will just pour out millions or at least hundreds of thousands. Okay, what millions are we talking about? Or just the clients themselves will come begging, "Oh my God, please, can I pay you? Don't do anything, I'll just pay you for being born into this world." This also happens, but probably in some exceptions, not systematically, because I have also had this a couple of times, but this is not a regular thing. This is like a one-time campaign. Let's call it this way. That's worth noticing, that's worth seeing too, because when your money potential rises, you have a huge amount of energy going up, and you need that energy to generate, you need to do something. And here begins the most interesting part. You see this gap between I don't earn yet, but I'm moving towards it. And here at the junction appear these two very restraining, very limiting, and so to say, very suppressing feelings like arrogance and envy. What are these feelings about? Please give me some feedback. Do you feel that you are experiencing these two feelings, arrogance and envy? And that they really prevent you from building contacts, building connections, that they prevent you very much from working more, producing energy, and be more fulfilled. And how does it happen specifically? Please write it. I will give my examples too, by all means. A couple of examples. Mhm. I experience it, but I don't admit it. I like it, seems to be true. Those who write, no, my dears, but you must make millions. If you don't experience envy, if you don't experience arrogance, you will have a very high income. And then those who write, no, I immediately have a question for you. Whether you really earn big, good money, whether you really have such good connections, contacts absolutely anywhere. We're not talking about pride, we're talking about arrogance. These are slightly different feelings. Mhm. Arrogance, I cannot accept help, yes. Mhm. Many don't understand how they experience it. Mhm. That's it. They reduce the value. Yes, the price that the speaker puts, this is the contribution that he's willing to make, that he's willing to give. It may not be felt by you on a physical level, but energetically it equals this quantity and this quality. Yes, I cannot accept help. This is also about arrogance. I try not to envy. This is also about envy. Very often people. I will now unpack the definition of envy. Let's go to details and let's start with envy because one flows from another. These feelings are very amicable with each other and very interconnected with each other. Envy is about what? Actually, why many people are motivated by envy, why envy motivates many people, why envy develops, reveals, because envy is about what he has or you have, and I cannot afford it. Although I have potential. That is, you have envy when you have potential to do something that you admire in another, but you don't reveal this potential, you don't realize this potential, you don't use this potential. People without potential are not envious. Only those who have potential are envious. If a man, I often meet this in our drivers. I say, I was at someone's, and he says, yes, I know him. He earned all his money by unfair means. Yes, this is a man who has the potential to earn a lot, but he can't. He has not yet found a way in his life to unpack his potential and unpack his opportunities. So he cannot acknowledge the value of the person who does this work. I mean, any person. For example, when I look at speakers who have a larger audience, who earn more money, I honestly bow to them and acknowledge the fact that their contribution and their energy is greater than mine. This is 100%. And if earlier I could allow myself, based on my feeling of envy, to say that their material is not as deep and so on, that was pure envy, nothing more. So today, if I meet some speakers, I sincerely bow to them and acknowledge that yes, this person's contribution is greater than mine. This is 100%. It's a law. And when I see it this way and sincerely admit it to myself, it's very easy for me to get to know this person, to pay him a compliment for his contribution, And it's very easy for me to establish contact with this person, and most often, even friendly relations. Previously, let's just say, the feeling of envy that I had was preventing me from approaching this person, saying hello, praising him, saying that I watch him, his success, his results, the engagement of his audience, that I admire him, that I bow to him, hats off, that this is really cool, that these are the things that inspired me. This material opened these feelings in me. And when a person comes to you inspired by you, when my clients who are quite advanced in their fields come to me and say, Zina, this what you opened in me, this is what you inspired in me, then undoubtedly the contact is established between us, the connection is established between us. And this barrier that was formed when I or they were envious, it is removed. Immediately there is some format of intimacy. It can be friendly intimacy, it can be intimacy of a working nature or any other nature. The point is that we connect. When you have the feeling of envy and you can't acknowledge the other person, you basically say to him, I don't acknowledge you. I cannot look at your success. I don't acknowledge your realization. I don't acknowledge you. And of course, the other person to who you say this, you may not say it out loud, by the way, this is also very important. You may just feel it inside yourself. You may experience it. If it's hard for you to acknowledge the value of another person, the talent of another person, if it's hard for you to praise, to pay a compliment, to acknowledge the uniqueness of another person, this is just about envy. So, non-verbally and unconsciously, you carry this message, I don't acknowledge you. But the other person always feels this, and he will not make contact with you. If he does make contact with you, it will be a kind of painful connection. In 99% of cases, no connection is formed, because you deny the other person. You're kind of shut off from him. Envy closes you off a lot. Envy contributes to the fact that you cannot double up. Because when you get close to a person, let's say, when you look at another person, let's take your colleagues at work, take your managers. You have to understand that your manager is still a person with a greater area of responsibility than you have, a hired employee. It's something that you have to admit to yourself at some point as well. I will also give you an example from my own life. Once I also was a hired employee until I was 22. I worked for other people, in management positions, not management positions, it doesn't matter. But I worked for another person. I was able to open my own business only after I acknowledged that my manager is the person who takes, after all, he has more responsibility. When I acknowledged this, when I accepted it, when I thanked for it, very easily I separated, wrote a letter of resignation, and started working for myself. Until that moment, I had the feeling that I knew a lot more, that I was smarter, but somehow it happened. I didn't know how. That I work for this man. He can thank me for working for him. While I had these attacks, right, let's call it this way, I could not separate. That is, I could not just write a letter of resignation saying, thank you guys very much for this experience, but I have to follow my own way. As soon as I realized that the area of responsibility of my supervisor is obviously more than mine, that my director at the time was a person who took responsibility for himself, that's one, for all our team, that's two, responsibility to the state in the form of taxes, that's three. This man bore responsibility for his family, he fully provided for his family, that's four. And also for this microsystem in which we all were, that's five. When I saw that, when I realized how much time, attention, energy that person devoted to it, how many resources he must have had inside for all that, how much he did, I realized that Well, I didn't do that much. I didn't have that many resources at the time. And very often in my Q&A on stories, I also have the question, Zina, I don't respect my supervisor. I once wrote the answer to this. I said, try to take as much responsibility as you are a supervisor or the owner of the business you are in, and you will get some respect because of it. And envy is about this, it's about this borderline. That is, you open your potential and you understand that the amount of your resource is still less, but potential is there. There is a desire to unlock it, so to say. And when you, that is how we stop feeling envious. Excuse me? How we stop feeling envious, we open up to this potential that we have inside of us. And when we open up to it, we're able to get closer. Because again, I will give you the example of myself. Generally, I will accompany every process with examples because a lot of you don't feel how it all lives inside, how it works. When I saw the area of responsibility of my supervisor, the amount of his energy and mine, I realized that compared to him, I was a small system that was trying to run out, denying everything, to separate, and so on. When I saw it, I realized that my resource, though I had a huge potential, but it wasn't enough. I acknowledged it, and I came to him, and first of all, I thanked. I thanked for all the experience. As I'm describing it now, I feel all the sensations. Try to remember some examples in your life, to dive into those sensations, to unpack them too. Remember now the person you envied or you envy, who you cannot admit it to, and who you think about, damn, no. Remember this person, imagine him now in front of you. And please notice how fulfilled and unlocked, regardless of whether he's a good man or a bad man, it doesn't matter at all. His potential is fulfilled more than yours. Acknowledge this point, yes, and see that your potential is so far from being fulfilled in comparison to him. When I felt that, I had that feeling of a very big lump in my throat. A very big lump, you know, when you want to say thank you, but you just can't. You just can't open your mouth. And somehow there is something huge right there, as if you swallowed it and can't let it go down. When I saw it, I was genuinely uncomfortable. Feel what states, what feelings you have when you see this person, when you interact with him. How envy lives inside you. How this unfulfilled potential inside affects you. How? Feel this? Now, the next moment. When I realized that this lump in my throat, I had a feeling as if I had swallowed a cucumber, and it just stood there. That is, I cannot spit it out, not swallow it, I can do nothing. It just stands right here. That's how I felt it. Pay attention to the way you feel it. That's the uncomfortable feeling that I had. But I realized that if I did not admit it, then my potential would still be in the state of a huge cucumber that got stuck in my throat. I came to my supervisor genuinely acknowledging that I admired and thanked him, and that our interaction could not work out because it was very hard for me. It hurt me a lot to see that I was not fulfilling my potential. And seeing it all, hearing me, I opened up. And what was in the state of envy, this potential opened up. And then the downside of this was my supervisor, who also opened up because I opened up. And I was very sincere with him and I thanked him. And there was this flow of energy towards this man and he opened up. And he said, Zina, why didn't you tell me this before? Because you could have grown like this and like that. You could have earned like this and like that. You could have been more successful and more fulfilled if you had not closed yourself off, not suffocated in your worries, and just openly could tell me about this. But at that time, I had not worked through my relationship with my dad. That is, I saw my father in him. And I just kept having this image from my childhood when I was always naughty. I was a very difficult child, in the sense that I was not difficult for myself, I was difficult for my parents, because I constantly did things that were not allowed in the family and things that were not acceptable according to the rules. And my dad would always lock me up at home, he would forbid me to go out, I was always grounded, and so on and so forth. And he would always bring me dolls and treats and said, if you ask me to forgive you, I'll give you a doll and you'll. And I said, no. And it was the same bad manner that I had with my man and with my supervisor, of course. And when he said, tell me what you want, tell me how you want it, we'll do as you like, you'll be developing. And I said, no. But it was my own worry, my own trauma of unworked relationship with my father. Just as I could not acknowledge my father and take from him, I could not take from my supervisor. And only by opening up, understanding, seeing, and feeling that I was really choking, that I just couldn't do it anymore. After admitting all that, he said, why, Zina, why? It was possible to do this and that. And after he opened up and began to say all that, it gave me a huge flow of energy, inspiration, strength, understanding of some kind of my strength. And all that was sitting in me, in such a frozen state that drove me into the state of envy. Somehow it just opened up, and I realized that I sincerely admitted to him that I could do it all, being a supervisor myself. And he said, no problem, I'll support you. Do you want me to give you a bonus? Do you want me to give you money for a startup? And I was just sitting there with my eyes like this, with my mouth like this. Of course I said no, silly. Because of pride and arrogance, which we are now going to talk about, they did not give me the opportunity to take. Although the man was absolutely sincere and openly offered help and support, absolutely free of charge, because in his company where I worked, well, I also did a lot. What is it all about? Envy is when you admit at least to yourself your envy and open yourself up, then this interaction, this connection with the other side that you envy gives you a huge amount of energy and strength and resources. Just insane. And later on, when I went on my own, started to work, started to open something, I was very surprised that, first of all, my interaction was only with men. The place where we were renting the center, the landlord was a man and he offered very loyal conditions. It looked like I don't give rental vacation to anyone, but somehow, seeing you, I want to do it, just for you, as a surprise. I was very open, I was very energized, because really this feeling of envy that I released, it gave me a huge push and huge flow of energy. And absolutely everyone who I interacted with, looked at me with such loving, accepting eyes, with the eyes, I will help you, I will support you, and so on. I mean, I really received a huge amount of support, love, and attention due to my openness, due to the huge flow of energy. Later on, when I asked people, because people came to work for me, and they agreed at the beginning to work somewhere under barter, somewhere on very, very loyal terms, and when I asked, God, how do you even agree to this? Why do you agree to this? Absolutely everyone said the same thing. You charge, though not with money yet, but now you charge with optimism, you charge with your energy, and after you, I go outside and I feel that I'm happy. That's how it was at first. And for me, it became, a lifelong lesson at the time. The lesson that envy is a very, very powerful energy suppressor, a very powerful potential suppressor. That if you're not envious, then the huge amount of energy is released. It was a lesson, and absolutely all the people who came to me, absolutely all the people I have cooperated with, in interaction with them, I have tried to look to find the strong side, to look and see their strength, because envy is also about unpacking your potential and seeing the strength of another person, acknowledging it. This helped me to make friends. It helped me to establish very good connections, very good contacts, because wherever I came, even if I came to an event, I could go up to a speaker, say that I was very grateful, that I had been following him for a long time, that I noticed his growth, and when the person noticed something through my words that he had not yet seen himself, he got a sense of love and respect, gratitude. The person opened up, and we also became closer. I mean, many of the speakers whose events I attended, we started communicating afterwards because I had no envy or arrogance. I was able to approach them calmly and admit that this person is really good in his or her field. It helped me a lot in my life, and still does. It helps a lot. Because for me, it was probably a very painful point to approach someone, to admit the potential and strength of another person. It was very difficult for me in view of the problematic and difficult relationship with my father. Difficult in what way? I will now explain so you can also notice it in yourself, so you can let it out too. Problematic and difficult in the sense that it was hard for me to accept that dad was older, that dad was still the father, and if he said something, it had a weight, it had a meaning, it was worth listening to. It was hard for me to get close to dad. I was always mom's daughter after all. And that moment of acknowledgement, of strength, because when you don't acknowledge your father, you don't really acknowledge your strength. I told you 100 times that if your relationship with your father is not worked through, it will be very difficult for you to fulfill. It will be very difficult for you to earn a lot. It will be very difficult for you to open up and fulfill yourself in this world. The better your relationship with your father, the more developed your relationship with your father is. It doesn't matter whether your father is alive or not, if you communicate or not, your internal relationship with your father, the more it is worked through, calm and loving, the more you will be fulfilled, the more free and calm, that is, this social male energy will simply pour out of you. You will simply want to do things to be fulfilled. I will give you the example of myself. In addition to household chores, personal things, and generally the desire to just rest and calm down, I always have a lot of energy left anyway. And when I distribute my energy for the day, what I dedicate to and where, I realize that I still have a lot of energy left. I can absolutely calmly go live as now for you. I can absolutely calmly write something, a program for a new course, send something on the material that I have, begin to make presentations for my Master of Diagnostics course. That is, I absolutely calmly manage this energy. In the past, when this social energy, this male energy, was suppressed in me due to some kind of suppressed relationship with my father, I could start to do something or had a desire to do something, but I could not bring this impulse to the end. The energy was sort of coming out and it was coming down somehow. I couldn't just really do. Now it's not a problem. Now there is energy. I can either go live, run a course, or write a program. It's all absolutely calm and free in this kind of flow. So if you have problems with realization, if you have problems with not finding this energy, pay attention to the relationship with your father. Something there is repressed. On the outside, the relationship with your father can be good because my relationship with my father has always been perfect. I mean, on the outside, he has always loved me very much, and when I first came down on him, saying that I really lacked his attention, he was just shocked. He didn't understand what it was about. Because he showed me pictures where he was always walking with me, always trying to take me somewhere, what a highly desired child I was, how he was crazy about me. He showed me all this. He said, I don't understand what you lacked. It is some of your, worries. You're a psychologist after all, so work on it somehow. It's actually true. I mean, externally, our relationship has always been perfect. He always loved, he always cared. And even when my husband tried to say something like, your daughter did this, he always said, stop. You took this woman as your wife, do everything to make her happy. You cannot do it, get out. And it didn't matter whether I was right or wrong, because most of the time I was wrong. But it didn't matter. I mean, Dad has always been and still is on my side. But I had some kind of suppression, I had some worries, purely my worries, so I worked with that. So outside your relationship with your fathers and mothers can be normal. Everything may look there quite civilized. And very often my clients say to me, Zina, no one hit me. No one everything was fine, everything was calm. Yes, I didn't feel, and this is exactly what needs to be worked on. When you don't feel love, when, for example, you didn't feel care, maybe it was manifested, but you didn't feel it. It didn't come to you. It also happens, and this is something to pay attention to. So, and this energy, this potential, a lot of energy was blocked. A lot. That's why there was a lot of envy. It was hard for me to acknowledge another person's success. It was hard for me to ask. It was hard for me to acknowledge and thank another person. It was hard for me to ask, to approach. It was hard for me to get acquainted. It was all difficult as hell for me. It was difficult to pay a compliment. I can go to any speaker now, to shower him with compliments and notice that this man is not simply just opening, but the man is already melting. Yes, that's it. And to do it correctly, to do it beautifully, so as to immediately connect with the person. It is happening now when my own potential is fulfilled in the way I'm comfortable with. Undoubtedly, it's not fully fulfilled. I will continue to work with it, but it's open now. I feel free and comfortable with it so far. It is not impossible that after a while it will be necessary to unlock again. I also ask you to pay attention to this inside of you as well. Because very often I'm asked, Zina, I have worked already there, when will it end? There is no end, my dears. As you unlock, you get comfortable, then you want more, and this is normal. This is the development of the allowing system. When you understand that, yes, you reach a certain threshold, but then again, there will be a moment when you will want more, deeper, and so on and so forth. So I certainly tend to believe that working on your states, if you are a healthy person, it does not end in principle. And the more you are a healthy person, the more you will want to reveal, to fulfill yourself, to achieve, to get more, and so on. So this is about envy. That is, the main element of envy is to notice how your potential is not being fulfilled. To notice this moment that being envious, you are not really able to fulfill your potential. Most often, people who don't notice envy are those who have such a strong sense of humiliation, abandonment, that they don't even believe that they have potential. They don't even believe that they have power and that they are capable of more. They don't believe at all. This is probably the most problematic because it usually takes more work, takes more time, and it takes more resources. Still, to see, to feel that you can, that you are worthy, that you will succeed. In general, in the Russian mentality, I don't know how to say correctly, there is a point that there is a process of very strong depression. That is, all my clients from America, all my acquaintances who have gone to work there, when they describe it, they say, Zina, an American has this kind of mentality. He looks at a successful man and he is inspired. He understands that, damn, if he could do it, I can do it too. There is a kind of, feeling of motivation. That's why there are so many motivational speakers. That's why positive psychology is very popular there. It's also very popular that if someone has achieved it, you can also achieve it. The Russian mentality has no such thing, and that is when he sees another who has achieved, and especially if he has achieved it quickly, then he becomes even more depressed, more humiliated, more resentful. And very often I meet such stories, including from my clients. When my clients tell me, Zina, when this psychologist started earning a lot of money, I unsubscribed from her. I left her because that's it. I began to resent the fact that she started charging more for courses, that she started driving a Bentley, and so on and so forth. That was it. This feeling of resentment, anger, and envy overwhelmed me in such a way that I unsubscribed from her so that my eyes don't see it. And this happens very often. A lot of people go to develop their allowing system to speakers who don't make money. It just, shocked me at some point. I mean, are you guys serious? You're going to a training session with a person who doesn't earn money himself? How to learn to earn and work through your money blocks if you can see from the photos of the person that he himself has very big problems with money? I mean, I just couldn't figure it out. I didn't understand it until I began to do therapy with people with this topic and saw that a person who earns well and a lot, and if a person who comes to him and has a very strong money block and envies him, then this feeling of envy and humiliation will not allow to come to this person to address him. It was also a very interesting experience when I told one of my employees, it is either you quit, that's it, I fire you, or you work through your money blocks because I feel that in my team you are the stopper. I mean, we have an opportunity to not just be in the same network, we have an opportunity to expand and to become large. And you're constantly stopping this. And I said, either you work through your money blocks or I fire you. You and I just go our separate ways. And the man for a long time said no, no, and then he agreed. In the end, I said, are you resolving this issue? He said, yes, here I'll go to the course to this man. And I said, how will you go to the course to this man if he earns exactly the same as you do? It's obvious. And my surprise was that for him it was a shock. He said, I didn't even think about it. I mean, this idea that this is just about an imperceptible feeling of envy. He said, I didn't even think about the fact that you can go and you should go to a person who makes more money than me. This is very important because the speaker can unlock the potential that you have, which is not fulfilled inside of you, and he cannot unlock more than what he doesn't have himself. This is a very important thing. And that was surprising to me. It's just about how you can ignore the feeling of envy. You can ignore how envious you are, and not noticing the feeling of envy looks exactly like this. When you cannot go to a speaker who is still, let's say, superior in his level. There is a reverse picture when it's a gradual process. Both are normal. You just need to notice it. And when you notice it, it will be easier for you to fulfill your potential. It will be easier for you to open up. It will be easier for you to see the opportunities in your picture of the world and use them. That is, your inner picture of the world will change and it will expand. The feeling of envy is, as you understand, about the fact that I cannot fulfill my potential. And what is the most interesting and most paradoxical? Right, my dears, give me some feedback. How can you see me? How can you hear me? So that there is no such thing as I'm talking and there is no connection. If you hear me and see me well, the connection is okay, put a plus. Yes, as soon as I open to people, I immediately have a lot of work, new earnings from everywhere. As soon as the arrogance wakes up, I'll get slammed. I reject, I pick, yes, this is absolutely right. I'm seen and heard. Okay, thank you. Let's continue. The live will be long. I think I will chat with you for another hour. So we stopped at the fact that the feeling of envy can be overlooked. And I sincerely ask you to pay attention to this, because if you don't notice it, then you don't develop. You stop. You stay in that, in that cell which is inside of you. How does this not noticing of a person's feeling of envy look like? My environment is not updated, my income is not growing, I don't see new opportunities. Everyone earns this much. So when you start generalizing everyone, it just shows that you are stuck in your own mindset, stuck in your own views, yes, that you are tarring everyone with the same brush to justify yourself. So this is the evidence that you are stuck in your limits. When a person cannot develop, and today I read an amazing phrase. God, I will read it to you too. It's gorgeous. It gave me this feeling of admiration. I will read it because it's not my phrase. I want to read it with the one who said it, acknowledging the one who is talking about it. Here, this is amazing, and it's also about envy. When I was preparing for the live, I realized that it would be very, very on point. My psychology professor, Sergey Matz, said that when a person wants to return to school days or is drawn to childhood friends, it's a consequence of accumulated unclosed gestalts and dissatisfaction with the present, which can eventually make you go cuckoo. I'm quoting as it was written. It is true. It happens that you have grown up and it's time for you to go to another city, it's time for you to go to another country. You have grown out of your environment. Conversations with your environment are no longer inspiring, no longer meaningful, and you need to renew your environment. It happens that the place where you worked at is no longer suitable, you need to leave, you need to separate from your parents, but you're just sitting there and you continue to be there. And what is more, you go away, for example, to another place, you develop, and then you come back. And this is really about the fact that you have some child-parent gestalts not closed. It is true. Because when a person closes gestalts in his old environment with his parents in his old places, let's say a person was born in some small town, but he has the potential to be in Megapolis. He goes to Megapolis and periodically he returns to his small town or to some small place with a kind of a longing and pain in his heart and wants to stay there. It's just about unfinished gestalts, situations that are not closed, some scripts that as soon as you close them, you get bored, and very often people stay for years in old situations, old surroundings, when they don't suit them at all. It already causes a conflict. It already causes some kind of, resistance. I'll give you an example. I do this quite often. Once every 5-7 years, I renew my environment completely. I also had a very interesting case when one of my clients wrote to me on stories, Zina, why I cannot be friends with people for over 10 years? If you have great potential and you constantly develop, renew yourself, and 1 year ago you were one person, 2 years ago you were a different person, you will change your environment very often. I change it once in 5-7 years 100%. I completely renew it. And recently there was a very striking case in my life when I am sitting with my friend and I understand that this is the end. Because the conversation is not going, and what's going is not my cup of tea. This conversation doesn't reveal anything in me. This conversation, it is my conversations 2-3 years ago. And nothing inside me wakes up, opens up, pulsates, and so on and so forth. I'm sitting and feeling that that's it. This is probably the second to last meeting, and most likely this interaction will gradually come to nothing. And also very often it happens, you will remember yourself probably, that the income and social status of you and your friends are very different. As a student, when I was interacting and making friends, I remember coming to my psychologist and saying, I'm a student, but I earn this much because I work in addition to my studies, plus I received some crazy scholarships. To be honest, even now when I tell about my scholarships to students, it makes their eyes pop out. Well, in short, my total income per month already in student years was about 100,000. For me, for the person who didn't manage her own money before, this sum was very big. And obviously my friends who were just ordinary students, they also didn't see such money. And later I started to make friends with my work colleagues. I started to be very good friends with my supervisor when student acquaintances and friendships came to nothing because I had a very striking contrast and advantage in income comparing to my group mates. They seemed to me simply like children. I mean, I used to communicate with them and I felt like I was communicating with school kids. I had no feeling at all that we could connect. And I talked to my psychologist about this and said, is this normal? I'm not friends with anyone. I mean, I cannot connect with anyone in my student group. I had a couple of friends in my fifth year when I was a freshman, and they seemed immature to me too. And I said, is this normal? Maybe I'm social phobic. I am a sociopath and I have some problems with intimacy and so on. And he told me such very amazing thing at that moment that has calmed me down a lot and which has given me a huge push to development. I'm sharing it with you because I'm sure it will be useful to you. This question arises very often. He said an awesome thing. Zina, never ever will a healthy person be friends with a person who's much lower in income and social status than him. Because the other will feel envy and anger at you for being better, higher, and your potential in interaction with him will not be fulfilled and not unleashed, but instead will be repressed, suppressed, and covered up. I used it, and it was really the absolute clearest truth. Because when I started to communicate and be friends with my supervisor, when I started to be friends with my colleagues at work, I felt some incredible flow of inspiration, of strength. I felt that I was opening up, that I was being fulfilled, that I had ideas, that I was getting stronger, to say the least. So then I also took it as a certain rule, and you need to understand and feel yourself always. That is, what I'm saying is not an unconditional rule, it is just examples of how, from feeling yourself, you can create more comfortable conditions in your life. So, if you don't get envious, if you unpack your potential, and the more delicate you are in your sensations, in your feelings, the stronger and more successful, more fulfilled you will be. Envy really is one of the strongest money blocks because the one who's envious cannot build good social connections and contacts. The one who's envious doesn't give anything from the contact with himself and accordingly doesn't use the opportunities that are there. I will give you a very clear example of how envy prevents you from earning a lot of money. This is an example from my interaction with a client. She said such an amazing thing. Zina, I have always watched your lives and I didn't understand how you say that you can earn, but at the same time to stay relaxed and still earn calmly. Now I will explain this point. It's very important. You can make money. I'm not saying that in order to relax you need to lie down and money will fall on you. It's not about that. You can make money by plowing like a horse, or you can, if you don't feel envious, make money through communication with other people. The less envy you have, the stronger employees you hire. I have repeatedly chanted praises to my employees, to my team, but these praises will never end because in our team there is no such thing as I'm a supervisor and you're a subordinate. You obey me, you do everything as I say. No, when I hire people, I explain that every employee is a mini entrepreneur, a mini freelancer, because he has his own area of responsibility and he is the supervisor in this area of responsibility. So he manages his own area of responsibility. And I have very strong guys, and I was only able to take strong guys to the team after the feeling of arrogance had gone. So I realized that another person, even if he works with you, he is the part of the team. He can be very strong, he may have ideas, he may have a crazy creative potential. And I see my job as a supervisor as just one thing, to unlock this potential, to unlock these abilities. And when my guys call me and say, Zina, I have this and that idea, I immediately say, introduce it instantly. I mean, none of my employees' ideas were left bare and unimplemented because I understand well these are the guys who have strength, who have potential, and by introducing them, we really become more fulfilled. We reveal ourselves. So, the way out of envy and the way to build social contacts is about perceiving another as a strong unit, giving him the opportunity to expand even more in his strength, to reveal himself. I'm not talking about partners, because the opportunity to earn in partnership is greater than earning on your own. Let's say when we connect with someone, apart from my psychological activity, I have another business that I love very much. It has nothing to do with Instagram, with social networks. I'm a co founder in it. But in any case, it gives me some very good monthly passive income, just some very tasty income. And I also got this because I'm very open to social contacts, social connections. And when another person comes to me, he says, let's partner up. We partner up, and here you will have some interest. It is also cool. It's about you being able to build connections, contacts, you knowing how to connect and build relationships with other people. And the way out of envy is to be able to build relationships. The more envy you have, the more you envy. Of course, it is harder for you to see the other person's potential, to open up to this potential. So you have to feel envy in yourself. You have to do therapy for envy in yourself. You have to let go, to give yourself to this flow of possibilities, to connect with other people, to contact with other people. This is a very cool ability. It reinforces you. You have less actions and more opportunities. You are really more relaxed. That is, this doesn't say that you won't do anything. No, you will, but in a different way. In interaction with another, it is done actually, well, the responsibility is divided in half. So envy is undoubtedly a block, a very strong block, preventing social contacts, connections from opening up, and allowing another to enter your space, strengthen you, your life, and expand your possibilities. This is all about envy. Let's ask a few questions and we'll go to arrogance for a visit. Perhaps you had some insights during our discussion. Please share them too. So, how to work through it all? You can go work through it in a private club. You can go work through it on the money course that I had. You can go to the course that will be on 30th, 31st, and 1st. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days of the money course. You can go there to work through it. Envy must first be noticed and felt as it manifests itself. Only after that you can do something about it. And I confused it with social anxiety. Yes, many don't know how envy moves inside. Envy is overachieving. No, I don't think so. Absolutely not. I don't know why these things are equal for you. Envy of youth is about the fact that you don't reveal your beauty completely. You don't reveal your beauty to the end. You do not groom yourself. That's why you envy. If you give yourself to this process, believe me, you will not have envy. You will admire yourself. So, okay, I see a lot of people who have just joined the live and haven't heard it from the beginning. At the very beginning, all these questions that you are asking for the most part, I have already revealed them about what envy is and so on and so forth. Okay, let's move on. The second quite strong monetary block is, of course, arrogance. If envy is about your inability to accept the potential of another, if envy is about your inability to reveal your power, your potential, then arrogance is about choices. It's about decisions, right? If we could speak metaphorically, I would say that arrogance is a consequence of envy. That is, if you're in the state of envy for quite a long time, it has become your way of life, you suffocate in it for quite a long time, then it develops further into the feeling and the state of arrogance. How is it manifested? Envy is when you see a woman who builds a business, she is fulfilling herself, but at the same time you cannot fulfill yourself, then arrogance is about you saying, I don't need it. She is fulfilling herself, she must be plowing like a horse, and she may look better than me, and I don't work, and I look more like a horse for some reason. It's about arrogance. That is, arrogance is a consequence of envy. When you are not unpacking your potential and your power, you are so disappointed in yourself, you are in a state of such hopelessness that you are not even going to do anything about it. Very often, my girls who come to my consultations say, Zina, I'm just a sexual object for men. That is, to have sex with me, to have me as a mistress, yes. To build a family with me, to have a long-term relationship with me, no. When I tell these girls that it is necessary to unpack their creative potential, because if the creative potential is not unlocked, that is, this bright and beautiful sexual energy does not go higher, this energy inside doesn't create something more, then such men are attracted, or rather not even attracted, I don't like this word honestly. Men are chosen, with who everything remains at the level of sexual energy and is not going higher. When a woman begins to let her sexual potential and her energy go higher, that is, she goes into art, creates some creative projects, and fulfills her potential, then she chooses men with who she can also fulfill her potential. It is not interesting to build just sexual relationships. It's not interesting and not enough. One wants more. And moreover, one not just wants, but is allowing more, because she has realized her sexual potential by herself. Undoubtedly, successful realization, beautiful realization, is about sexual energy. When a woman has a lot of it, a woman is beautiful, sexy, then it is necessary to be realized artistically, not to get stuck in it. There are women who just get stuck at this level. They endlessly take care of themselves, especially I see this often in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, in such big cities. When a woman just pours all her attention, all her energy into her appearance only. This is cool to take care of yourself, and I absolutely love beautiful, well-groomed women. This is very cool and very beautiful. But when everything remains only at this certain threshold, and when a woman goes even further, that is, she stays not only at the level of beauty, but she creates some creative projects, she opens something. When women who are very beautiful and well groomed open their studios, beauty salons, model agencies, when they somehow use the knowledge and experience, the energy that they have, they allow this energy to go further and open something and create opportunities for others. This is cool. And when this sexual energy is unleashed, most often they go into a more serious relationship, for the simple reason that in their lives they're still creating something larger, something more serious. So arrogance is about despair to unlock your potential. Arrogance is about hopelessness. Arrogance is about giving up on yourself so much that you don't even believe that you can, that you're capable of fulfilling yourself. This is about a very, very strong depression. What to do with them, with the feelings of arrogance and feeling. Yes, when you have a feeling of arrogance, it is insanely difficult for you to take. If you have the feeling of envy, you can still be greedy somewhere. You may not give yourself because you have limited potential, you have a limited capacity of your own power and resources. Then arrogance is about that you may even have resources, but you cannot take. Arrogance very often exists in women who are even well fulfilled, who earn money, but they cannot accept help from a man. They cannot accept support from another man. They cannot accept even a basic compliment. I had a very striking case. A client of mine and I couldn't find a place, so I called the driver and said, "Please pick us up because we still cannot have a consultation." And he opens the door for her to get in. And in the end, without waiting for him, she gets in and she closes the door by herself, saying, "I felt bad that he was opening the door for me." When he got out to open the door for her to get out, she didn't wait for him either, and she stormed out of the car by herself. So this is also the story of how I can neither accept nor take help from another. I feel I owe something, I cannot enjoy it, I cannot get pleasure from it. I cannot use those resources. I cannot connect at all with the strength and resources and the energy of another. I am close to it out of arrogance. Arrogance is the inability to take, and it's a kind of despair in relation to your resources and in relation to your power. Unwillingness to approach another, unwillingness to contact another. When you have arrogance, of course, it's very difficult to build social connections and contacts, very difficult to ask for help, very difficult to connect with another person, to build social contacts, connections, and so on. It is just as difficult as with envy. So arrogance is certainly a huge, huge block. How to work through envy and arrogance. The first step is to notice them and recognize them by all means, in every interaction, in every contact, where there is arrogance, where there is envy. At first, when you start noticing, it will seem to you that you're completely envious. You envy everyone. But it's always like this: when you notice something in yourself, it escalates. It's not about that you're completely made of it. But as a rule, in what direction we look, that is what we see. So don't worry at first everything will be aggravated. It's a matter of a week or a month. After you have noticed that yes, indeed, you are envious, that you have a lot of arrogance, the second step is, of course, to start doing something with these feelings inside yourself. That is, to stop at what you notice. This will be not enough for many. These feelings must be worked with. In therapy, worked through, call it what you want. I will explain what I mean. What is to work through a feeling or a state? What is it? It is when in some environment you dive deeply into these states. That is, you don't just understand and admit to yourself that you experience these states, but you dive into them. You notice you have stories, memories of how this feeling appeared, how it escalated, how you live with it, and so on. That is, you are deeply immersed in this feeling, this state. You are in it, in the environment. With the help of, let's say, a therapist, you begin to chew this feeling, roughly speaking, to chew it up, to digest. That is, this feeling is worked through by various methods. Someone uses constellations, someone uses child-parent techniques, working through child-parent relationships. And in my therapy, I use my own original, very powerful techniques on working with feelings. Because, first of all, I feel all the emotions and states very well myself. And I have quite a lot of experience in picking through all these states, all these feelings. And I know very well how to release these feelings internally. Well, and accordingly, on my webinars, on my projects, I give my author's techniques, thanks to which the person is immersed in these feelings and states and begins to notice that he gradually lets them go, clears his inner state from these feelings. When you clear, when you release the state, what happens afterwards? Or roughly speaking, I had a client at a money constellation that we did with her. She said, "Zina, what will happen to me tomorrow?" Will money fall on me, or what will happen next? So, what will happen next? The next day, nothing happens, especially if it's a deep work, like the one we'll have on the 30th, 31st, and 1st. We're going to do therapy for 3 days in a row for all these feelings, all these states. So, nothing will happen the next day. Most likely, the next day you will feel bone tired. That is, you will want to rest, especially after a deep, long therapy, which I really love lately. Nothing happens, you feel just slightly worn out because it's quite energy consuming to release some conditions from yourself, to be honest. This is what happens on the second day. That is, on the first day you were half bone tired. What happens on the second day? On the second day, you want to sleep, to rest. You want all the resource that went into healing these wounds or paying attention to these feelings, to work with these states. You want it to be restored just a little bit. You want to sleep, to eat. You want to be on your own. What happens on the third day? On the third day, you more or less start to remember what happened in the first place. That is, what was happening. Some childhood memories start to come. By the way, the thing I'm talking about right now concerns those who have taken my depression course, 10-hour training, concerns those who have taken my mom therapy, mom and dad therapy, 10-hour long therapy. I'm talking now about what happened to you, and I'm talking about those who will take my money course on 30th, 31st, and 1st. You will have the same. That is, the gestalts start to emerge and close. That is, there are some pictures, memories in the relationship with your parents, with mom and dad, with your sisters, what you didn't share, what you shared. If money, envy, and arrogance are worked through, all your ex-partners, all your old connections begin to come to mind. You may even get phone calls from your ex-partners, or phone calls from your ex-boyfriends or ex-girlfriends. Why? Because when you begin to remember actively, that is, when some memory is activated, the person feels it as well. He contacts, and the process of closing of gestalts begins. Old friends, old acquaintances may begin to call. Old employers may begin to call. All these tales that you have not closed, all these gestalts that have not been closed, they start to close. When I was working through the feeling of arrogance, it was very surprising. I got a call from a therapist who we first worked with. I was in therapy with him, and then we worked as colleagues. That is, we created a joint project. We ran a joint project. After it, we had a big fight, quarrel, and we parted ways. As I worked through my arrogance, he called me. He called me and said, I think we separated not in a humane way. And I've had dreams about you for 2 days now. Let's talk, or let us meet and talk. We met, and this feeling that I still had, that he was ungrateful, that he didn't do everything he could do. From his side, he felt like I did everything too fast and tried to do it without agreeing with him. We discussed all that, let it go, and now we talk again. That is, some tales, some gestalts begin to close. And here everyone has his own time. For some people it happens within a week, for others within a month. For some there is a desire to visit their parents, for others there is a desire to call friends. The tales begin to close. After the main layer of gestalts closes, the tales close. Only after that, a new layer of energy is released. That is due to the fact that you have closed mental debts, roughly speaking, some of your unclosed gestalts. Only due to this, the energy is released. Everyone's experience is different. For someone in a month, for someone in 2 or 3 months. That's why I often say that you should wait for the significant result of therapy in a month, 3 months. The energy is released because the gestalts are closed. The neural connections are renewed. Only after that you notice that you act differently. You start to have new desires. For instance, when I was working through these processes, money potential, I completely renewed the format of how I interact with my audience. My target audience has changed very dramatically. I mean, the people who were listening to me 2 or 3 years ago, and the people who are listening to me and watching and using my services today, 60% of them are new listeners. I've worked for a very long time with the audience that doesn't believe in its changes at all, which is just, whining in comments. So when I cross that line that I'm more than confident that I give results, people start coming to me saying, "Give me results." I said, "Here's therapy, you'll have everything." And that's what happens. My audience has changed very dramatically. People who felt sorry for themselves and were victims, they left. And if you check the comments now, if you check the comments on the feed, the comments that were 3 years ago, 2 years ago, you will see completely different people, different messages, and different states. And that is, at a certain point, I caught myself that the audience that I have been working with for quite a long time now, for a year and a half, and now it is the audience that I love. It suits me very well, and I really like its results. That is, the update is happening, and it's undoubtedly not a one-day moment. It's all gradually unpacked. The audience has been updated. People who were just whining in the comments or who had a very high level of victimhood have begun to leave me. Some left me in a very strange way. That is, they were direct messaging me, I don't like it, I'm leaving you. I said, "Thank you, thank God." I understood that there is an upgrade. If I hadn't had therapy, if I hadn't worked through my inner moments and seen that I was changing, it would probably have made me sad or caused me to feel insecure and feel like someone was leaving me. But when this audience was leaving me, I had a feeling of liberation. I realized that this very clear and specific productive audience was coming, saying, "Give me a practice, webinar, technique. What should I buy? I'll do it. I'll have results." In principle, the same people began to come to me as me, to be honest. My condition has updated, the same people began to come. Because I'm honestly the same. That is, I come and say how much it costs and how much I need to pay to have this kind of result. Can you give it? Yes, we work. No, okay, I will find these with who it's possible. And then such people began to come to me, but again, because I have become like this. And I began to give this kind of state through my projects. So, this is such a gradual process. For someone, it takes 1-3 months, but in the first 3 months, as a rule, you start to feel everything. That is, you see the results within 3 months. There are quite traumatized people. Who are traumatized people? These are people who have quite a lot of internal tension, restrictions, and traumas. Such people can't even afford to buy something. For these people, I have created and released a lot of free material with lives, techniques, and everything is there. So if you feel that you don't have the resources to pay for something and come to a specific clear result yet, there is no problem at all. Use the free material for now. It's there, it's freely available to you all. You're welcome to use it. It also gives energy. It also gives the resource to go further and learn, to reveal your potential, to go further. I mean, everything is there. Where there is a will, there is a way. That's what I wanted to say today about envy and arrogance. Ask questions, I'll answer them. I promised you the technique on envy and arrogance. Now, if there are no questions, okay, if there are no questions and you're ready for the technique, let's do the technique on envy and arrogance to feel them, to feel how they develop in you. You can work in the club, of course. In the club, on the 8th, 7th, and 9th stage, there is the work with the allowing system. Of course, you can. The course for money that will be on the 30th, 31st, and 1st costs 33,000, a minimal package. There's a package for 60,000. It's a 3-day course, plus there are 2 individual consultations with me, which you can use for 3 months. I don't take individual consultations now, but in the context of this package, you can sign up. The program will be different, of course, another program and other techniques. Admiring and malicious envy. Admiring envy is what people call it. It's an acknowledged envy. Probably what we'll do with you today will lead to admiring envy. That is, you will be envious, but you'll be able to talk about it and do something about it. Okay, I understand you're ready. I want to go to the private club. My dears, I adore our private club. And if you honestly pay attention even to the comments, the private club has a huge number of results. So it's 100% worth going there. And 100% worth working through your worries and letting it all go. Okay, I see you're ready for the technique. Let's get started. I will save this live only on YouTube. I will not save it here. The technique is a short one, very deep, very sensual. The essence of the technique is for you to feel the feeling of envy inside, the feeling of arrogance inside yourself, to understand how it moves, how you close yourself, get uptight, devalue yourself, can't pay for services. That is how it moves inside you, how it manifests, and most importantly, when you feel it, when you experience it, you will be able to renew something in yourself 100%. Okay, let's begin. During the technique, it's very important that your feet have support. Please put your feet on the floor. Take a couple of deep inhales and exhales. Always inhale with your nose in my techniques. Always exhale with your mouth. This is very important. If you breathe differently, other centers relax, and the technique is not as effective. We do it all together. The fact that we do this technique in this field also gives its effectiveness. A huge number of people doing the practice also gives a burst of energy and strength. And the last deep inhale. Very good. And feel very well, deeply and thoroughly your uterus, your pubis, your lower center, this part of your body. Feel your belly. Feel your chest. Feel your throat more thoroughly. And put your hand to that center in your body, which is now responding the most, where you feel some tightness, some suppression, some compression. It may be in the form of a lump in the throat. It may be in the solar plexus in the form of some kind of blockage or a break in the chest, and some kind of squeezing sensation in the pubis. Put your hand where you feel envy, arrogance, closeness, repression the most. Very good. Feel how long this feeling has been stuck there. A year, a month, 5 years. It's from your mom and dad or great-grandparents. How ancient is this feeling in general? It can be very ancient but was revealed recently. Just appeal to this feeling, appeal to this state, and say, I see you. I admit to myself that I have you. I admit to myself that I'm holding myself back. Deep inhale, deep exhale. Just take deep, liberating inhale and deep exhale as if you are throwing something away. It's not that now you have completely freed yourself from this feeling. No, it's that you have admitted to yourself wholeheartedly that this feeling isn't you. And say, feeling, referring to this feeling, to this state. I acknowledge you. And now feel that this feeling of arrogance, envy, that this block that prevents you from revealing yourself and your potential, that this state and this feeling is getting a face, is getting some form, some color. Maybe in front of your eyes there is the image of some person, maybe something that doesn't exist. If you could give a face to this feeling and condition inside of you, who or what would it be? I will share a bit of mine while you're drawing. I have an image of my very, very long time acquaintance. This is the image of the particular person. Look into his eyes, her eyes. And give the following command out loud. You and I are equal. I give you space, time. Deep inhale, deep exhale. Pay attention to the body, what the body wants. How the body behaves, what it wants. If it wants to shake it off, please do it. For example, I want to sit up straight. It feels as if the core in me has become stronger. It's very interesting. And feel what has come to you, what has been added to you. You know, I got this feeling of structure, clarity, some kind of rightness. What kind of feelings, what kind of states did you get in connection with accepting this side of this image? Try to feel, speak it out loud, it's very important. And deep inhale, deep exhale. Feel that you close the process. Any process that you do, any technique that you do, you should always close the process. This is very important. Closing the process happens through sincere gratitude. Thank the field, thank yourself, thank the person who gave you this technique. You can say it aloud or to yourself. With such gratitude, we close some internal processes so that it doesn't turn into a mess. Final deep inhale and exhale. You can gradually come back, share some of your insights, states, feelings, ask questions about the technique. Yes, I think this technique will reveal a lot about you, some memories, some unclosed gestalts that you need to close. So, my dears, this is where I say goodbye to you. As you know, if you have any questions, you can send a message to the administrator's WhatsApp. Here I'm saying goodbye to you from tomorrow. Who wanted to cry, by all means cry. Give freedom to your repressed feelings. Who has a rush of energy and heat and so on, this is cool. Tomorrow the live will be available on YouTube. Here I will not save it. Observe your feelings, your states, your insights. You can ask the administrator questions about the course. The phone number is in the bio of the profile. Contact by WhatsApp. And tomorrow I'm waiting for you at the Master of Diagnostics course, those who signed up. And tomorrow we have an awesome enriching webinar to start the course. I hug you all and see you tomorrow.